Thou Art the Man is a murder mystery written by Edgar Allan Poe, published in 1844. It's pretty close to a detective story, although it doesn't fully count as a detective story because we don't know who the detective is. Like a lot of other stories by Edgar Allan Poe, we've got a narrator, but we don't know his name or how he's related to the various characters, beyond the fact that he lives somewhere in this town. The narrator keeps some pretty important information from the readers until the end of the story. That way, there can be a surprise ending. A rich man named Barnabas Shuttleworthy disappeared. He was leaving for a nearby city. 2 hours later, his horse returned to town. The horse was fatally shot, its saddlebags were stolen, and Shuttleworthy was nowhere to be seen. His best friend, Mr. Charles Goodfellow, leads the search for the missing man. Suspicion falls upon the missing man's nephew, Pennyfeather, who insists he was murdered. How does Pennyfeather know that? They follow the horse's shoe prints and find Pennyfeather's waistcoat covered with blood. Goodfellow tries to give Pennyworth the benefit of the doubt, but he messes up when he gives a speech to the townsfolk. He accidentally reminds them that Pennyworth will inherit his uncle's money. At this point, Poe interrupts the story with a large paragraph on the proper translation of the Latin phrase cui bono, which he feels was mistranslated by authors Charles Dickens, Edward Bulwer Lytton, and Catherine Grace Francis Gore. I kind of love how Poe interrupts the story with this random tangent. Some critics say Poe writes like a man who's being paid by the word, but I think he actually cares that the phrase was misused. Pennyfeather is soon arrested when Goodfellow finds his knife covered with blood. Pennyfeather openly admits to hunting in the area where the victim disappeared. He also admits to knowing the victim was going to town to deposit a lot of money and to cut the nephew out of his will. Further evidence is found in the nephew's house, and a distinctive bullet is found in the dead horse. The nephew is quickly tried and sentenced to death. Not long after, Goodfellow receives a shipment of wine, which the victim ordered before he died. Goodfellow throws a large party, and he's drunk before the wine arrives. When the lid is taken off of the large wine box, the murder victim sits up, says, "Thou art the man!" and collapses. Goodfellow breaks down and confesses he is the true killer. He framed the nephew, and he dies minutes after his confession. The narrator says he knew Goodfellow was the culprit all along, because he oversaw an altercation between Goodfellow and the nephew. At the time, Goodfellow glared at the nephew with such murderous intent. The narrator instantly suspected him of wrongdoing when the mystery started. Another thing the narrator failed to mention earlier is the fact that there were 2 bullet holes in the dead horse, indicating the distinctive bullet found in the horse was fired at a different time than the bullet which killed the horse. Also, some of the bloodstains proved to be wine upon close examination. As for the corpse rising from the dead to accuse his killer, the narrator found the corpse. He propped it up with a whalebone in such a way that once the lid was removed from the box, it would instantly spring up. He used ventriloquism to imitate the victim's voice. I was satisfied with this explanation of how all the events of the mystery occurred, although I would have preferred it if all the major clues were not concealed before the end. I think that could have been done without spoiling the exceptionally dramatic moment of a victim returning to life to accuse his killer. It's such a dramatic ending, and Poe does such a good job of wrapping up all the various plot threads that I have no problem with this mystery story. The story also has some humorous elements. I enjoyed those too. I give Thou Art the Man a thumbs up.